Hello everyone, welcome to Dr. A classes for BTech students. In today's lesson, we will explore the primary methods used to measure precipitation and understand the importance of accurate data in civil engineering applications. Precise measurement of precipitation is essential as it plays a critical role in flood management, irrigation planning, and the design of resilient infrastructure, contributing directly to the sustainable development. Learning objectives of the courses: discussing the challenges in accurate precipitation measurement, applying Thiessen and isohydral methods for aerial rainfall estimation, designing an optimal rain gauge network by considering spatial variability in data quality requirements, estimating missing rainfall data using standard techniques, performing double mass curve analysis to evaluate the consistency and reliability of long-term precipitation records, interpreting and constructing depth area duration curves for use in regional flood estimation and hydrological design. Why measure precipitation? Precipitation measurement is the cornerstone of understanding Earth's complex water system. It is not just about knowing how much rain falls, it provides critical insights that help us determine water availability for essential needs like irrigation for crops, generating hydropower, and ensuring sufficient domestic water supply, serves as vital input for hydrologic and climate models, which are crucial tools for predicting future water pattern and understanding climate change impact. Forms the basis for accurate flood forecasting and drought assessment, allowing us to prepare for and mitigate the impact of extreme weather events. Becomes essential for effective water resource planning, guiding decisions on infrastructure development, water allocation, and sustainable management for the future. Challenges in precipitation measurement. Measuring precipitation is not always straightforward due to several inherent difficulties. The spatial and temporal variability means that rainfall can be highly localized and fluctuate rapidly, making it hard to capture and representative measurement across a large area or over time. Instrumental errors are also a significant concern. For example, strong winds can cause rain to miss a gauge, leading to an underestimation of actual precipitation. Furthermore, accessibility in remote areas poses logistical challenges for installing and maintaining equipment. Lastly, snowfall measurement is particularly complex because of its solid form, which can be affected by wind, temperature changes, and varying densities, all of which complicate accurate water equivalent determination. These limitations make it consistently difficult to get accurate precipitation measurements, which impacts our ability to understand water system and climate precisely. Quantifying rainfall over an area. When studying water resources, it is often necessary to determine the mean areal depth of precipitation over a specific area, such as catchment basin. This is the average depth of rainfall or snowfall across the entire region. Since rain gauges only measure precipitation at a single point, various methods are used to estimate this average over an area. Here are three common methods used to calculate the mean areal depth of precipitation. The methods are arithmetic average method, isohydral method, and Thiessen polygon method. Arithmetic average method. This is the simplest method. It assumes that the rainfall recorded at each gauge station is representative of the entire area. In this method, we simply sum up the precipitation recorded at all the rain gauge stations within or near the area of interest and divide by the total number of stations. The formula is P average equals to the sum of precipitation values at all stations from I, which is equal to 1 to n, divided by the number of stations n, where P average is the mean areal depth, Pi is the precipitation at station I, and n is the total number of rain gauge stations. Limitations of the method is it is best for flat terrain with uniformly distributed gauges, assumes uniform rainfall distribution, which is often not true for large areas. It is less accurate if rainfall varies widely between stations. Isohydral method. It is a graphical interpolation method that involves drawing lines of equal precipitation, that is isohydrates, on a map much like contour lines represent equal elevation. The procedure is precipitation values from all gauge stations are plotted on the detailed map of the catchment. Based on these points values and considering local topography, elevation, and the typical storm pattern, lines are drawn connecting points of equal precipitation. The area between successive ISO heights is determined. The average precipitation for each strip between two ISO heights is taken as the arithmetic mean of their values. This average is then multiplied by the area of that strip. The sum of these products divided by the total catchment area gives the mean areal depth of precipitation. The formula is P average equals the summation from J equals 1 to M of A J multiplied by P average J divided by A total, where P average is mean areal depth, AJ is the area between two successive ISO heights, P average J is the average precipitation of two ISO heights bounding area AJ, and the A total is the total catchment area. Generally considered the most accurate method, especially for large areas more than 5,000 square kilometers and complex terrain where precipitation patterns are significantly influenced by the topography. It allows for hydrological judgment in interpolating between gauge points. Limitations. It requires a skilled station and can be time consuming. Isoheightal map. The displayed isoheight map visually represents the distribution of rainfall across a defined area using contour lines. Each contour line connects points receiving equal precipitation. 4 rain gauge stations are marked: A. Recording 20 mm rainfall, B. Recording 30 mm rainfall, C. Recording 25 mm rainfall, and D. Recording 35 mm rainfall. Locations are plotted based on assumed coordinate X and Y. ISO heights are drawn at 20 mm, 25 mm, 30 mm and 35 mm rainfall. These lines illustrate zones of equal rainfall. The spacing and shape of the contour indicates how rainfall varies across the area. Rainfall values between the stations are estimated using the inverse distance weighting method, which assumes rainfall at unknown point is influenced more by nearby stations. Area closer to station D show higher rainfall, more than equal to 35 mm, and the regions between station A and C show moderate rainfall around 25 mm. Heysen polygon method. This method assigns a weighted average to each rain gauge, recognizing that each gauge represents a specific sub-area of the total catchment. The procedure is: plot all rain gauge stations directly onto a map of the catchment area. Connect these adjacent rain gauge stations with straight lines, effectively forming a network of triangles across the map. Draw perpendicular bisectors to each of these connecting lines. These bisectors will intersect to form irregular polygons around each rain gauge. Each polygon's boundary defines the area where any point within it is closer to its enclosed gauge than to any other gauge. Formula: P average is equal to the sum of each station's rainfall multiplied by its corresponding area divided by the total of all those areas, where P average is the mean areal depth, Pi is the precipitation at station I, and AI is the area of the Heysen polygon associated with station I. The denominator is the total catchment area. This method is more accurate than the arithmetic average for areas with non-uniform gauge distribution and moderate spatial precipitation variability, suitable for basin between 500 square kilometer to 5,000 square kilometer. Limitations of the method. This method assumes uniform precipitation within each polygon and does not explicitly consider topographic effects like elevation changes, which can significantly influence rainfall. It requires redrawing polygons if the gauge network changes. Heysen polygon method plot. The plot illustrates the Heysen polygon method used in hydrology for estimating aerial precipitation from point measurement at rain gauge stations. Here is what it represents. Red dots P1 to P5 represents location of the rain gauge stations. Dashed gray triangles connecting triangles between adjacent stations, ensuring that no point lies inside the circumcircle of any triangle. Blue lines, these are perpendicular bisectors of the triangle side. They form the Voronoi diagram dividing the area into polygons. polygons. Each polygon represents the area that is closer to a particular rain gauge than any other. This method gives a weighted average of rainfall over an area with weights based on the area of influence of each gauge. It is particularly useful when rain gauges are irregularly placed. Optimum rain gauge network design. Designing an optimum rain gauge network is a critical hydrological task aimed at achieving a delicate balance, obtaining highly reliable and accurate precipitation data while operating within practical economic and logistic constraints. The goal is not necessarily to have the most gauges but the right number of gauges in the right locations. The optimum number of rain gauge stations, N, is calculated by the mean areal depth of precipitation using the simple arithmetic average method. The formula helps calculate N based on two critical factors: the coefficient of variation CV of the existing rainfall data, which indicates how much the rainfall varies across your current stations, and the desired percentage error E. Coefficient of variation CV is standard deviation sigma and mean precipitation P bar are all derived from data of the existing rain gauge stations N by the given formula. Once the optimum number of stations N is determined, you might find you need additional rain gauge stations N minus N. These new stations should be strategically distributed, not just randomly. They are typically placed in different zones in proportion to their size, focusing on an area with high rainfall variability or where existing gauge coverage is sparse. This ensures the new gauges enhance the overall accuracy and representativeness of the network, improving our understanding of the basin's rainfall pattern. Estimation of missing data. Missing data is a common headache in hydrological studies, whether it is due to a faulty rain gauge, scheduled maintenance, or unforeseen communication breakdowns. Gaps in precipitation records can severely impact the accuracy of our analysis. To ensure reliable water resource planning, precise flood forecasting, and robust climate modeling, we need complete datasets. Hydrologists use several methods to estimate these missing values. The normal ratio method is a popular choice, uses data from nearby stations weighted by their normal annual precipitation. Simpler approaches like the arithmetic mean method might be used for quick estimation in uniform areas. It averages nearby station data, though less accurate for highly variable rainfall. More advanced techniques like regression analysis establish a statistical relationship between the incomplete station and the nearby complete stations. The spatial interpolation methods like kriging use the spatial correlation of rainfall to fill the blanks. The goal of these methods is always to reconstruct a complete and representative rainfall record for accurate hydrological assessment. Double mass analysis. Double mass analysis is an essential statistical tool in hydrology which is primarily used to check the consistency of precipitation or hydrological data over time. It detects inconsistencies in rainfall data due to changes in observation methods, station relocation, or environmental modification around the station. It ensures that long-term hydrological records remain accurate and reliable for engineering design, water resource planning, and climate analysis. The method involves plotting the cumulative value of a rainfall data against the cumulative mean of neighboring stations that are assumed to be consistent. If the plotted points form a straight line, the data is considered consistent. However, any break or change in the slope indicates a discrepancy in the recorded data, warranting correction. This correction is done using the correction factor, which adjusts the inconsistent portion of the data to align with the trend before the anomaly. The double mass technique ensures the quality control of hydrometeorological records, making it a crucial step before using such data in hydrological modeling or engineering design. Double mass analysis plot. The graph illustrates the double mass analysis method used to detect inconsistencies in hydrological data, specifically cumulative rainfall. X-axis represents the cumulative rainfall recorded at a group of surrounding reliable weather stations assumed to be consistent. Y-axis represents the cumulative rainfall recorded at the target station under investigation. Observation. Initial linear segment, years 1 to 10. The plotted points form a nearly straight line, indicating consistency between the target station and the surrounding stations. This suggests that during this period, the target station was recording rainfall data accurately and in harmony with the regional trends. Change in slope. Red dashed line, a noticeable kink or break in the curve occurs around the 10th point. This indicates a change in the relationship between the two data sets, suggesting that something affected the target station's data consistency. Common cause could include a relocation of the station, change in the instrumentation, urban development nearby, or observer error. Later segments, years 11 to 20, the slope decreases, indicating that the target stations began recording lower rainfall values than expected based on the surrounding stations. This part of the curve requires correction using a correction factor CF to realign it with the initial trend. Depth area duration relationship. The DAD relationship describes how the average rainfall depth decreases as the area over which the storm occurs increases for a given storm duration. In other words, while a small area may receive a very intense rainfall, spreading that same storm system over a large area usually results in a lower average rainfall intensity. This relationship is essential when estimating design storms, particularly over large catchment or river basins. Why? Because infrastructure such as dams, spillway, urban drainage system, and flood mitigation structures must be designed based on how much water they might need to handle during extreme rainfall events. The DAD relationship is not hypothetical. It is derived from the analysis of historical extreme storms where rainfall data from dense rain gauge network are studied to understand how rainfall depth varies with space and time. Now we represent a DAD relationship using an empirical formula, which is P equals P naught multiplied by A to the power minus K multiplied by D to the power N, where P is rainfall depth, A is area, D is duration, K and N are empirical constant, and P naught is reference rainfall depth. This formula helps us model the behavior of extreme storm and is particularly useful in predicting rainfall over areas where measurement might not be available. Graphical representation of DAD curves. The depth area duration graph shows how average rainfall depth decreases as the area covered by the storm increases for different fixed durations such as 6 hours, 12 hours, and 24 hours. Each curve represents a specific duration. The curves slope downwards, indicating that the rainfall becomes less intense over large areas. The 24-hour curve lies above the 12-hour and 6-hour curves, showing that the longer storm tends to accumulate more rainfall. This visual tool helps engineers understand how rainfall distributes across space and time, which is crucial for hydrological design, flood estimation, and water resource planning. Frequency of point rainfall and return period. The frequency of point rainfall refers to how often a specific rainfall depth is observed at a single location over a long period. Engineers analyze this frequency to estimate the likelihood of heavy rainfall that could affect infrastructure. To quantify this, we use the concept of return period, also called recurrence interval. It represents the average time gap between rainfall events that are equal to or exceeds a particular depth. For example, if a storm of 200 mm happens once every 50 years on an average, and then 200 mm corresponds to a 50-year return period. The formula for return period is T is equal to N plus 1 by M, where T is return period in years, N is number of years of record, and M is rank of the event in descending order. Here we sort all annual maximum rainfall events in descending order, assigning ranks M and compute T. This helps determine how rare or frequent an event is. Design applications include sizing of urban stormwater drains, flood embankments, culverts, and even planning of agriculture water management. Engineers often design a structure to withstand a 25, 50, or 100-year event depending on the criticality and safety requirements. Graphical representation of rainfall. Rainfall data is best understood and analyzed through graphical representation, which allows engineers to visualize patterns, interpret trends, and make data-driven decisions. The most widely used graphical methods are hyetograph. This is a bar graph where rainfall intensity is plotted against time, often in hourly intervals. It reveals the temporal distribution of rain in a storm. It is crucial in designing storm sewers and modeling surface runoffs. Mass curve. This curve represents cumulative rainfall over time. By analyzing the slope, we can infer rainfall rate. A steep slope indicates intense rain, while a flat one suggests no rain. It is useful in reservoir design and water resources studies. Self-assessment questions. At the end of the presentation, these are self-assessment questions. Go through each question carefully. Answer these questions based on understanding of the topic. Review any concept you are unsure about. The questions are: describe at least 3 physical or environmental factors that affect the accuracy of rainfall measurement. Compare and contrast arithmetic mean, Thiessen polygon, and isohedral methods for estimating aerial rainfall. Why is it necessary to estimate aerial rainfall rather than rely only on point measurements? Provide examples. Define return period in your own words and explain its importance in hydrological design. How does rainfall depth vary with area in DAD curves? Give one engineering application. Describe how mass curve helps in determining rainfall rate and cumulative depth. Note: numerical problems related to the measurement of precipitation could not be covered in this presentation. They will be included in the next one. Thank you for joining this lesson on engineering hydrology today. Hope you found this presentation informative. So don't forget to like and subscribe the channel Dr. A Classes for more engaging lessons on core subjects of civil engineering. Thanks.